Talha is going to present the speech on the evaluation and feedback. His topic of the speech is the greed of man, and the time is 2 to 3 minutes.
5 to 7 minutes.
Yeah, 5 to 7 minutes. So good luck.
So since time immemorial, man has been a slave to his basic desires. And one of the most basic desires is money. And that has been the hallmark of every person throughout history. So if we look down into the annals of history and we view what the conquerors did, it was firmly based through the conviction that they want more and more money for themselves. And this was basically the motivation for all the conquests that happened for the past 500 years, for the past millennia, from time immemorial. And if we see the example of Alexander the Great, what was he? People think that he was a great conqueror, but he ravaged nation after nation, culture after culture, people after people. And the base motivation or conviction behind that was to get more land, more wealth, and more power for himself. It also is sort of a reflection on how we view people's conquests, on how we view people's achievements throughout time, throughout space, and history. And these are some of the things and the most important lessons that come out that people really learn. And they continue making these mistakes again and again and again. So how many times have there been instances when people knew that in the pursuit of a certain objective, they would not get the required results. But they still went ahead and they did that anyway. So what was the motivation behind that particular instance? And if we view through the annals of history, through the lens of history, it boils back to only one thing, and that is money, that is land, that is riches, that is power. And if we move on to contemporary history, then we see the rise of banking moguls. And what better name when we talk about banking than the name of Rothschild? Few people, I guess, are aware of Nathan Rothschild's history. How did he become the owner of one of the largest banking investments in contemporary history? And his family now is worth over $350 billion. How this happened? It was a note of deceit that basically founded the basis of his huge empire. At that particular point in time, Napoleon was engaged in a war with England. And Rothschild had one of the fastest couriers in that part of the world. So before the stock market in England knew that Napoleon had lost the war, he had created a facade by using his facial expressions at the trading floor that Napoleon had actually won. And because he was one of the lead traders and brokers in that particular bank, people thought that Napoleon had actually won. And they started selling government securities. Unknown to everybody else, he had his agents placed on the trading floor, and they started buying those securities at an unprecedented rate. So for something that was worth £100, he bought for £5. When the actual news broke out that Napoleon had lost, the stock market rebounded. And he became one of the richest men at that particular point in time. I think everybody is aware of what he's done in terms of expanding his reach in different industries and how he has sort of controlled the financial empire. If we move on a bit further than that, then we see what happened in Iraq. People think that it was because of, there have been various theories. People think that it's because of furthering global interests, global peace. There's a certain school of thought. And then there's the practical school of thought that views that these are commercial interests that are essentially driving these behaviors, that are driving these invasions in the name of commercial interests. I think this is basically the hallmark or the key to understanding human nature. Despite the fact that we know, despite the fact that every person who is involved in all of this knows what is right or what is wrong. But moral compasses have been sacrificed, families have been sacrificed, nations have been sacrificed at the altar of money, at the altar of land, at the altar of riches. But man does not accept the fact that he is continuously in this rut of doing the same mistake again and again, destroying nations, destroying cultures. And we, as humanity, I believe, have succumbed to this weakness. And until and unless we are able to come to terms with this weakness, I think the human beings cannot evolve to their next level. There are, however, examples of people who have managed to break this cycle, to break this rut. And from our own country, we have those examples. E.D. Saab, for instance. We've got a number of philanthropists who have gone way and beyond to break this cycle. And to all the people who can actually accept this and actually practically implement this in their lives, I think those are the people who have earned the right to be called true heroes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, TM.